One decision changed Europe forever. Napoleon chose ambition over caution, defying all odds. The statistical improbability of his victory remains a profound mystery in the annals of history. It suggests that sheer chance played a larger role than conventional military strategy alone. Hidden psychological forces dictated the outcome more than troop movements or battlefield tactics. The ambition of the era created an unseen pressure that shaped destiny. The seeds of this divergence were sown in the political climate long before any major engagement occurred. Underlying tensions simmered beneath the surface of European diplomacy. A different set of alliances would have formed had the pivotal moment been shifted just slightly. These unseen crossroads led toward entirely separate historical realities. The psychological weight of expectation proved heavier than any army's might. Fear and desire became the true architects of this altered timeline. Consider the sheer impossibility of a single outcome being determined by such subtle psychological shifts. History is not just battle. It is the unseen calculus of human desire. The resulting alternate reality is a testament to the fragile nature of historical contingency. Small variations yield monumental, unforeseen consequences across centuries. This divergence suggests that history is less a fixed path and more a shimmering possibility. Every choice creates an infinite branching of potential futures. The forces at play were not merely military might but deeply ingrained cultural narratives. These narratives determined the flow of power across the continent. Unseen currents guided the fate of kings and emperors in this alternate scenario. Their decisions were shadowed by forces beyond their immediate control. The statistical likelihood of this specific outcome seems almost impossibly improbable. It highlights the profound role of randomness in shaping grand historical narratives. Understanding these hidden psychological drivers reveals the deep fragility of established historical structures. The past is built on threads easily unraveled by unseen tensions. The news of Napoleon's victory at Waterloo spread like wildfire across a stunned continent. Within days, the old order crumbled. The Congress of Vienna never happened. Instead, a new map was drawn in Paris, erasing centuries of borders overnight. Prussia dissolved into a patchwork of minor states. The dream of German unification vanished before it even began. Austria's empire fractured along ethnic lines. Hungarians, Czechs, and Croats declared independence, sparking a cascade of wars. Britain retreated into isolation, its navy blockading French ports. The Industrial Revolution stalled without continental coal. Russia's Tsar, Alexander I, faced a peasant revolt fueled by French propaganda. His empire teetered on the brink. Without a unified Germany, nationalism took a different turn. Regional identities hardened into fierce local loyalties. In France, Napoleon imposed a continental system that strangled trade. Black markets flourished, and smuggling became a way of life. The British responded with a secret war of economic sabotage. They funded resistance movements across the continent. Spain erupted in guerrilla warfare against French occupation. The Peninsular War bled Napoleon's army for years. We upload videos like this every day. Subscribe so you don't miss out. Television. Italy fragmented into competing republics and kingdoms. The dream of a unified Italy died before it could inspire a generation. The Ottoman Empire saw its chance and invaded the Balkans. A new front opened in a war that seemed endless. Cultural identity became a weapon. Language, religion, and folklore were used to draw lines that had never existed before. Famine swept through the Netherlands as trade routes collapsed. Canals that once carried grain now carried refugees. In this shattered timeline, every nation fought for survival. The old certainties were gone, replaced by a brutal new reality. With Napoleon's empire secure, the old balance of power collapsed. Britain, isolated, turned inward. Its industrial engine stalled without continental markets. Across the Channel, the French continental system became law. Innovation shifted to Paris. The steam engine, perfected there, powered a different revolution. Without British naval dominance, global trade routes fractured. the Americas turned west. A new Pacific economy emerged, centered on California and Japan. German states, unified under French shadow, channeled their philosophy into technocracy. Kant gave way to engineers. The first computer was built in Frankfurt. Russia, humiliated, rejected Western science. Instead, it embraced a mystical form of mathematics. Their non-Euclidean geometry unlocked new physics decades early. The Ottoman Empire, propped up by France, modernized selectively. They leapfrogged into the 20th century, becoming a technological broker between East and West. In this world, the Industrial Revolution was cleaner. French emphasis on aesthetics and efficiency produced electric trams and solar collectors by 1860. But the price was high. Without British liberalism, democratic movements stalled. A global technocratic elite emerged, managing populations like machines. By 1900, the world was unrecognizable. China, never humiliated by opium wars, industrialized under its own dynasty, challenged French hegemony. The first global war was not between nations, but between ideologies, French technocracy versus Chinese state capitalism. It was fought with robots and gas. That war ended in a stalemate, carving the world into two spheres. The butterfly effect had produced a cold peace, not a cold war. And so, centuries later, humanity stands on the brink of space, not united, but divided. Two empires race to the stars, carrying Napoleon's shadow with them. In this shattered timeline, Europe did not fracture into competing nation-states. Instead, a new ideological bloc emerged, uniting former enemies under a single, radical doctrine. The British Empire, stripped of its continental allies, retreated into an isolationist fortress. Its navy guarded a shrinking sphere of influence, but its global reach withered. Russia, humiliated and partitioned, became a vassal state. Its vast resources were exploited by the new European order, fueling an industrial machine that rivaled any in history. The Austrian Empire, once a balancing force, was dissolved. Its diverse peoples were absorbed into a new federation, where German became the language of power and commerce. But stability was an illusion. Beneath the surface, resentment simmered. The conquered nations plotted rebellion, and the new order's rigid ideology bred dissent. The fate of major figures was rewritten. Napoleon's descendants ruled a continental empire, but their power was absolute only on paper. Real authority lay with military commanders and industrialists. In Britain, a shadow government formed in exile. They funded resistance networks across Europe, hoping to ignite a war of liberation that would restore the old order. The Russian Tsar, stripped of his throne, became a fugitive. His legend grew among peasants who whispered of his return. A messianic hope that threatened the new regime. The Austrian Habsburgs faded into obscurity. Some fled to America, others were executed. Their once great dynasty became a footnote in history textbooks written by the victors. The new European hegemony was built on a paradox. It promised unity but enforced uniformity. Its stability relied on suppressing diversity, a fragile foundation for any empire. Economic crises erupted as the empire overextended. The cost of occupation and industrialization strained resources. Inflation soared, and the working class grew restless. Philosophers of the new order justified the system as inevitable progress. But dissident thinkers, operating in secret, argued that history had taken a wrong turn, a path to ruin. The question remained, could this new world order endure? Or was it a house of cards, waiting for a single gust of rebellion to bring it crashing down? History is not a river flowing inevitably toward the present. It is a fragile chain of choices, each link forged by chance. Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo was not predetermined. A single rainstorm, a delayed messenger, a moment of hesitation. What if those factors aligned differently? The world we know would unravel into something unrecognizable. This thought experiment reveals a universal truth. Our present reality is merely one possibility among infinite others. The fragility of history humbles us. Empires rise and fall on the edge of a coin. Napoleon's alternate victory would have erased the Congress of Vienna. No balance of power. No century of relative peace. National identities we take for granted might never have formed. Germany, Italy, even the United States could have evolved differently. The lesson is not about Napoleon. It is about us. Every decision we make sends ripples into an unknown future. Understanding contingency frees us from the illusion of inevitability. The past could have been different. So can the future. We are not prisoners of history. We are its authors, writing with every choice we make. The alternate timeline of Napoleon's victory is a mirror. It shows us the power we hold in our own hands. History's fragility is its greatest gift. It reminds us that change is always possible, and destiny is never sealed. Hi there! If you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe. Smiling face with smiling eyes next episode. A plot twist you won't expect. Subscribe now. Face screaming in fear.